Best of r/entitled parents episode 110. Subscribe for edit videos daily. No real point in a cast as it's more of a collection of stories. There's me, my male cousins, and my entitled female cousins, and my crazy, racist, enabling, entitled grandma, and my aunts who let it all happen. I spent a lot of my childhood at my grandma's house. My mom was still in university and my dad had just gotten into the RCMP, so he was always either working or sleeping to provide for my family. So I stayed at my grandma's house a lot under the collective care of her and my aunts. So to sum up the living situation at my grandma's house in a few words, I'd say this: it was cramped. My grandma has a decent sized house, but her and her son, my uncle Jay, and her 3 daughters, my 3 aunts on my mother's side, all lived in the one house, and each aunt had children who were all about my age or a few years younger. My auntie J had moved out of the house when I was kinda young, maybe 6. My auntie M lived in 1 bedroom with her 3 kids. She'd lose her kids when I was 12 and her son would be taken in by my parents, so we're brothers now, lol. And his younger sister is one of the entitled cousins. My auntie C and her increasing number of children stayed in 1 room. Her oldest daughter is one of the entitled female cousins. My auntie A and her kids stayed in the basement of the house. My uncle had his own room, and so did my grandma. Me and my male cousins, which I'll now call MCs, primarily stayed in the basement to stay away from our annoying female cousins, now known as FCs, and my auntie A was the more well-off aunt, so she had a computer with games, consoles, etc, and her son T was one of the MCs, so we'd all play toys, computer games, take turns on the N64 act. And we all believed in taking turns. Often our FCs would saunter by and demand they take over the computer, N64, or the TV in the living room, etc. And if we didn't cave to them, they'd immediately cry to grandma, who'd yell at us and spank my cousins for bothering her wonderful granddaughters. She never spanked me, or let me play outside if it was slightly rainy or snowy, because I was the son of her successful daughter with schooling and a job. What if I got sick? What would my mom say? I heard that line a lot. This continued for years. Me and my MCs would be at the mercy of our spoiled FCs and our grandma. I'd just jump on to play something and my FCs would walk over, let me play it, or I'll tell grandma. They became their friggin' catchphrase, I'll tell grandma. Became a daily occurrence, and we couldn't say shit to anyone. Only place we were safe was in my uncle's room because the FCs weren't allowed in there. Not a very cohesive story, I know, but one I wanted to share. The more entitled stories I write, the more I recall from my childhood, lol. Edit 1. Before anyone asks, my aunt, grandma and uncle were all on welfare. That's why they all lived together to pool their checks. Thank you. Next. My brother and I went to Disneyland for his birthday. We were decked out in Disneyland clothes. I wore my bag with my collection of Disneyland pins. I am used to kids staring at them and I love talking to kids about my pins. I also trade my duplicate pins on occasion. In line for one of the rides, I feel someone poking at my backpack. I turn around and sure enough it was a little girl. I bent down and took off my backpack to let the kids look at my pins. We started talking about princesses and their favorite shows. It made the line move so quick. It was all so pleasant until the little girl asked for a pin. G, can I have one? M, sure. I have some in my backpack. I keep my duplicates in a Ziploc to trade. I don't mind giving them to nice kids. G, can I have this pin? Points at my Stitch and Angel Valentine pin. Me, sorry sweetie, this is my pin. But I have these ones you can pick from. But I don't think I have a Stitch one in there. EM, excuse me? What do you mean she can't have that one? Me, I mean that one is mine. I collected those ones. She can have one of these. EM, but she wants Stitch. Me, I don't have a Stitch one. EM, you have that one. Me, like I said, this one is mine. You can't have this one. She can pick one from the bag. EM, you can take back what you said. You said she could have that one. Mind you, while the mom is arguing with me, the little girl and her big sister are looking through the Ziploc and was totally fine with it. Me, I said she could have one of these ones, not one from my collection. I am giving both of her daughters a free Disney pin. They aren't cheap. Don't be picky. The little girl ended up picking a Rapunzel pin, her favorite princess. It just surprises me that the little girl was so much more understanding. Thank you. Next. I believe we all need to remember that a famous serial killer named Kenneth MacDuff was raised by an entitled parent who constantly spoiled Kenneth while threatening anybody who dared try to punish him for the things he did growing up. Feel free to bring him up during your next encounter with those entitled people. Thank you. Next. Bit of background. I worked in a call center dealing with an early incarnation of online grocery shopping in 2000/2001. It's a well-known supermarket in the UK with orange branding which is slightly more aspirational but still fairly big, meaning that many of the customers were entitled AF. I worked an evening shift as I was at college in the day, and on the 11th of September 2001, I had been at home working on coursework and along with many millions of others had seen the horror of what happened that day unfold live on TV. I headed into work at around 5 PM that day. Management had scribbled on the whiteboard "site slow today." This was due to the whole world trying to get online to find out what had transpired that day. Anyone who remembers this day will remember how scary and momentous it felt. One of my calls that day was one of the most entitled people I had ever spoken with. EM. Hello, I can't do my online shop today as your site keeps crashing. ME. Oh, I'm very sorry. I have been informed that the volume of global traffic today on the web is causing our site to be less responsive due to the terrorist incident. EM. I don't care. I want my shopping. ME. Did she actually just say that? I'm very sorry, madam. There's very little we can do. I have just been told that even the BBC website is struggling with the amount of traffic. Did you see what happened today? EM. It's really not my problem. I don't care what's going on. I need my groceries and you need to get them to me, otherwise my baby won't get any milk. At this point I checked the customer's address to see if she lived in a rural or remote community. She lived in central London. Not really sure how I will be able to rationalize with this horrible entitled mum. ME. I'm very sorry, but many of our customers are having issues with our site today. We are expecting that internet speeds will return to normal later on or tomorrow. EM. Yells, I want my baby milk. I don't care. ME. Please do not shout at me. I will terminate the call if you do. EM. If you don't get ME my baby's milk I will have to go to the store. I asked to put the entitled mum on hold, and asked one of the team leaders how I could seek resolution with this nut job. TL. Well, we don't control the speed of people's internet. She will have to try again tomorrow. Shortly before I cut the EM off, I was actually considering whether I needed to pass her details to social services as she was telling me her baby won't get any milk. Absolutely outrageous. You and solely you are responsible for feeding your crotch goblin. I doubly lost hope for the human race that day. Thank you. Next. Fear not exactly entitled, just massive dickholes. Today is like the 5th time in a month I am going somewhere with my mom for no reason. My dad's divorced. Exact words. She doesn't trust you being alone. With my brother I and her GF for like half an hour of the time I am being alone. And when you have kids you can let it out onto your kids doing the same shit. And they do more stuff like that. My mom would ground me for little stuff and once for literally nothing. OKTHX for reading by. Thank you. Next. This has happened to me on several occasions, but one EP really stood out as a shining example of shooting the messenger. So for context, I work at a nursing home that allows dogs once their visitors have their veterinarians fill out paperwork proving their vaccinations and flag any behavioral problems. It's a little tedious, but if someone got bitten on the property it would be lawsuit city. I sometimes work the front desk covering for people and it's my job to stop visitors and request a pass for each pet. Cast. EM. Entitled Mom SK1. Sweet Kid 1. About 12. SK2. Sweet Kid 2. About 8. Me. NS. Nice supervisor. So I'm covering a lunch break at the front desk when I see SK1 and SK2 walk in with a dog on a leash. It's the tiniest fluffiest little teddy bear looking dog, but it still needs to be signed in to visit me. Hey, do you have a pet pass for your dog? SK2. SK1. Our mom does, I think. She's parking the car. Me. That's cool. You guys can just hang out here for a few until she gets here. Okay. SK1. Sure. We wait a few minutes for their mom to come in, while I look through the registry of allowed pets and I don't see their dog listed. So I know there's gonna be some friction, as most people don't want to turn around and leave once they've gotten their dog to the facility. In comes EM. She gets to the desk and her kids ask if she has the pet pass. She scowls and shoots me the filthiest look. EM. The what? Me. A pet pass for your dog. EM. Excuse me. I've been coming here for a month and I've never had to get any sort of pass for him. This unfortunately happens, either because some people at the front desk don't see the desk comes up to nearly eye level sitting down, or feel too awkward to stop people. However, asking for a pass is still policy and I can't control what other employees do. Me. Well, they should have asked you for a pass. I can give you an application for one if you'd like. EM. What? Now I have to fill out an application. Look at him, he's been here before and nothing bad has happened. Me. I believe you, but I can't let him in without a pass. EM. This is such bullshit. He's a therapy dog. Look. EM proceeds to shove the dog's therapy card 2 inches from my nose, causing me to jolt backwards because I thought she was gonna punch me. I look at the card and see that he's certified. This actually changes things a little because there is a program that schedules therapy dog visits to make rotations around the units, but not as personal visitors. So I'm not sure where this falls policy wise. Me. Let me call a supervisor who can sort this out for you. EM. Oh great. Call a goddamn supervisor. I call the supervisor who tells me that EM definitely still needs a pet pass to come in, at which point EM is frothing at the mouth. So I ask for NS to come up and speak with her. Meanwhile EM is on a rampage. EM. This is such bullshit. No one has ever stopped me here before. Look. She proceeds to shove her phone in my face with pictures of the dog in the building on it. Me. I understand, but I can't control what other employees do here. I just need to do my job and stop you. EM. Glad to know that no one for the past month has done their job at all. At this point the usual receptionist walks by on her break and EM latches onto her. EM. Like her. She points at the receptionist. EM. I see her here all the time but she's never stopped me. The receptionist looks startled and wisely gets the fuck out of this situation to enjoy the rest of her break. Also she is much shorter than me and I have trouble seeing over the desk at times, so I understand how it's tough to see if someone is holding a leash unless they mention it or the dog is making noise. Me. That was an oversight, but I can't control what others do. I still need to do my job. EM. Oh that's great. Everyone does such a fantastic job here. The security guard never stopped me. Good to know the Unabomber could just walk right in and no one would do anything. SK1. Mom. Chill out. They're gonna get someone. EM. Look. The security guard isn't even there. Glad to know no one cares about security in this place. The security guard was a temp and away doing rounds. I agree there should be more than one for situations like this. But once again, I don't control those policy decisions. And she is screaming in my face. Now NS gets up here, and she is awesome. She has the best soothe the beast voice that she brings out for situations like this. And I am super grateful because I'm just covering the lunch break and can't deal with this shit. NS proceeds to do the I understand, I hear your routine to the hysterics while explaining to her that she needs the paperwork filled out. EM. I just went to the vet this weekend. Now I have to go back just for fucking paperwork. SK1. Mom, you're making a scene. Calm down. EM. Say that to me one more time and you'll be sorry. By now a bunch of supervisors have arrived and explained that they can call a vet quickly and ask about the vaccinations and if the dog has its major shots, they'll let her through. She reluctantly allows them to call a vet while she fills out some basic information and NS explains to the vet that this is unusual and normally they would submit the papers to them, but they are trying to rush this nutcase through. They hear that the major shots are confirmed, and she gets to go through. Any other visitor would have had to leave until the paperwork was filled out entirely, but it goes to show that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Apparently she showed up again the next day with the dog off the leash and this whole charade repeated again when she wouldn't just put it back on its leash. The worst part is the dog seemed distressed by the screaming and was quietly whimpering the whole time EM went on a tirade. Thank you. Next. The store I work in happens to have this neat little kiosk with a touchscreen computer for placing orders from the bakery, deli or floral department. Unlike any of these departments in the store, It's open until the store closes, so even if there isn't anyone working there that can help customers, they can still order and browse through what we offer. There's also a phone nearby the screen to call someone over to help with them, and I dread picking it up, because I'm required to stand there and help the customer through every step of placing orders. Normally, it's someone who's ordering for a great big party and wanting one of everything from everywhere. But this story isn't about someone wanting to order something and not knowing how to use a computer. It's far more stupid than that. I was working the department, the bakery manager was gone for the day, and I hear the phone ring. Me, hello, this is blank.